Hi everybody, it's Friday, January 23rd, 2009. Thanks for stopping by. Today I would like to talk a little bit again about the horrible massacre that occurred in Gaza. The state of Israel, it seems, the exclusively Jewish state, the only one like it left in the world, which is officially supported by so many people who would never approve of any other ethnic state. No one would ever approve of a white state or a black state or a Islamic state. Certainly there are Islamic states, and no one approves of them, but everyone approves of the Jewish state. For some reason, I don't know what it could be, but everyone seems to approve of this, and everyone seems to approve of the slaughter of civilians with tanks and airplanes and aircraft carriers and 500-pound bombs and white phosphorus, but no one approves of killing civilians with homemade rockets with low-yield explosives. The killing of 5 or 6 people with these homemade weapons is deplorable, but the killing of 13 or 1,400 people with bombs and missiles and fighter jets is perfectly okay. I guess what that means is that Palestinians have to obtain some F-16s and some Merkava tanks, maybe some white phosphorus artillery, and then it'll be perfectly okay for them to attack Israeli citizens. They just can't do it with rocks and homemade grenades. That's unacceptable. It seems like the state of Israel, they have not left any moral boundary uncrossed. Just about anything that you could think of that is taboo, they have done. They have, I can't think of anything worse that they could possibly do. That they didn't do when they attacked the civilians in Gaza. And we're talking about an attack that targeted mosques, schools, graveyards. Their tanks drove in circles over the graves of Palestinians, digging up corpses that had to be reburied. UN compounds were hit with white phosphorus. People were assaulted and threatened in international waters because they were trying to deliver food and medicine to the Palestinian people. And the government of Israel actually stated that this was what they were going to do at least a couple of years ago. They said they're going to wage a merciless campaign of slaughter of civilians in order to punish the Palestinian people and to drive home the fact that they are to be slaves. That they must accept their role of slaves, accept their role as subjects of Israel with no rights. This is just an amazing thing that we're witnessing, an amazing crime, and it's even more amazing and appalling that so many people are so adamant in their defense of it, who would never defend this sort of thing if it was happening to anyone else. They might ignore it like they ignore Darfur or Rwanda or other things like that, but they would never try to defend it. And people are all over the place trying to defend that. What's going on right now, the killing of children, they're defending this. It's just an incredible thing, an incredibly horrific thing that we're witnessing, and an incredible testament to our own depravity and hypocrisy, which seems to know no bounds. I just don't know how much more shame or how much more disgust I could feel for the Western world. You know, the thought has been occurring to me lately. We we see on the media all these people defending Israel. We see all these people giving the arguments that we know are false. We see people on YouTube constantly telling lies, which, a lot of these people believe the lies, but, constantly saying things that aren't true, that never have been true, things that come right out of the propaganda book for Israel. And the thought occurred to me, would we be sitting here, let's just say this is World War II, okay? Would we be sitting here listening to the arguments of Nazis? Would we be, would we have a television show where we show both sides, okay? Let's let the Jews talk about how they're being massacred and slaughtered. And now let's have the Nazis' side. Let's see what the Nazis think. The Nazis, I'm sure, believed what they were doing was okay. They had arguments. Why didn't we listen to their arguments? Why didn't we have a Nazi come on every night and say, well, the Jews are all communists. They're all traitors. We can't trust them. They're dirty. That kind of thing. The things that they were thinking back then. Why didn't we listen to that sort of thing? Why didn't we, have correspondence with them and we could argue this out like civilized people? Well, should you massacre the entire Jewish race or shouldn't you? Let's talk about the pros and cons. And this is what we do today with Israel and the Palestinian people. We act like this is a conflict between two nations, but it's not. It's a conflict between the fourth most powerful military in the world and a group of refugees. Okay? Try to wrap your mind around that. This is a group of refugees versus the country that displaced them with the fourth largest army in the world. And everyone knows that this country has been torturing these refugees for decades, militarily occupying these people for decades, and starving them for years in Gaza. And for years they've been starving these people in Gaza, and even longer than that, Gaza has been a prison. No one can come in or go out. I mean, it's like a big ghetto where the Palestinians have been stacked in like sardines, where they have no rights, they have no sovereignty. They're not allowed to have a state. If Israel ended their occupation, why can't the Palestinians have a state? Why can't they control their own borders? Why can't they control their own airspace or their own sea? Why? If there's no occupation, if the Jews or the Arabs, if the Israelis don't want the land, why are they controlling everything about it? And then everybody acts like because these starving, desperate people sometimes resort to violence, that makes it okay? Whatever you do to them, that makes it okay? Just because they're not perfect, just because they're not like Gandhi, that they can take all sorts of abuse and then be perfectly good people and just shrug it off and say, okay, well, we'll just see if we can find something to eat, and who cares? We're not mad at Israel. We're not mad at anybody. The sheer Orwellian nature of this is breathtaking. And this seems, Orwell's world seems to be the world we're marching towards. And if you don't stand up and say this is wrong, your children will be next. The Palestinian people are not the only ones that will have to deal with this oppression if we support it. If we support the oppression, everyone will end up being oppressed. And this, by the way, is a keffiyeh to show my support for the Palestinian people, who I admire much more than I could ever say. Thanks for watching.